So speaking of death and returns, one of the things, Greg, you pushed really hard for in the episode I wrote at the end is the very end, again, spoilers, hopefully you guys have seen it, but Laurel's mother returns and says, I think Sarah's alive. Mm-hmm. And there was some debate about whether that line was even going to be in that episode, and you really were the one that, I think, expertly, ingeniously put that in there.
Right.
So what was the motivation behind that, laying that huge...
I would say from the, hopefully when we're all doing our jobs right, it's a lot of this stuff is set up even in the pilot, and Sarah and who she is and what she means to the Lance family and what she means to Oliver's past, and all of that is stuff that we've really wanted to get to at some point in this year. And we knew at the end of your episode that we were heading into the sort of, a lot of times we sort of see the whole season as a whole, almost like 3 acts of a film. And the winter episodes are in a lot of ways the second act, and the final run of episodes should feel like almost like the third act. And that was just something, if we hadn't sort of planted our flag in the ground on that and certain other storylines, by the time you go in, the audience, wants to pay attention to the other storylines that have been set up. And so that was something that we definitely wanted to get back to and evolve the characters, in part because of the lore of what that means of who we would bring in. And then also for the beginning of some things that we have planned throughout the rest of the year.
Cool. And I thought, Katie, you did that beautifully, and that scene was wonderful.
Thank you.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about where that's going to take Laurel, what she has to deal with, what the fallout of that visit from her estranged mother will bring?
Yes, as if Laurel doesn't have it hard enough. I feel like the poor girl has gone through a lot. Her mom obviously shows back up and says this, and I think, the first initial reaction was the same reaction that I had, is I couldn't quite figure out how to wrap my head around this as a character and thinking about Laurel and everything she's gone through, to hear, first off, her mother show up, and then her mother obviously deliver some information. I think my initial reaction to it was very sincere, of just like complete shock, and then I think, Laurel being a lawyer, she has a reaction to things, but then she will, she starts to sort of get into it and rationalize and think whether, is she telling the truth, or does she have the correct information, and how, and she kind of gets sucked in, I think, by her mother a bit. But you'll definitely get a chance to see her mother kind of challenge her father and the dynamic within the family. And her mother also, I think, has a lot more information than you necessarily think, without giving away too much. But it definitely, it's really fun to have these scenes with, obviously, Alex. She's amazing, and yeah, she's fantastic. And Paul is fantastic, and working with them and sort of exploring that family dynamic has been awesome.